how motherboard works. So today we're going to talk about how motherboard works and the components of a motherboard. Motherboard. So like I said, we're going to talk about the components of a motherboard. We're going to give a description of each of the components and a short description on how to troubleshoot the components. CPU, Central Processing Unit chip. CPU is the electronic circuit in a computer. Electronic circuitry in a computer that executes instructions that make up a program. RAM, random access memory slots. RAM is a kind of computer memory that can be read and written. It is mainly used to save data and machine code. South Bridge and North Bridge. South Bridge or North Bridge. They are the two chips in the core logic chipset on the motherboard. Typically, the South Bridge implements the slower capabilities of the motherboard in North Bridge or South Bridge chipset computer architecture. BIOS, Basic Input Output System. BIOS, also called System BIOS, PC BIOS or ROM BIOS, ROM BIOS, is a firmware that is used to perform hardware initialization during the booting process and to provide runtime services for the operating systems and programs. I/O port or I/O port. Input output ports are the connections between the CPU and the peripheral devices on a motherboard. There are two complementary methods to perform input and output processes. One is memory mapped input-output. The other one is port mapped input-output port. USB, Universal Serial Bus. USB is an industry standard that creates specifications for connectors, cables, and protocols for connection, power supply, and communication amongst computers, computer peripherals, as well as other desktops. CPU slot. A CPU slot, also called a CPU socket or process socket, contains one or more mechanical components that provide mechanical and electrical connection between the PCB and the microprocessor, the CPU. PIC, Peripheral Component Interconnect slot. So peripheral component interconnect is a local computer bus for connecting hardware to a computer. It supports all the functions of a processor bus. AGP, Accelerated Graphics Port slot. AGP was designed as a high-speed point-to-point channel for connecting video card, this is also graphics card, to the computer system. Primarily, it was used to assist in the acceleration of 3D computer graphics. ISA, Industry Standard Architecture Slot. ISA is the 16-bit internal bus of an IMB PC or AT and similar computers that are based on Intel 80286 and its immediate successors during the 1980s. Sorry man, every time I click forward it kinda goes forward on its own, but yeah. Parallel port. A parallel port is a kind of interface for attaching peripherals on desktop. The name of this kind of port is derived from the way the data is sent. That is the parallel ports send multiple bits of data at the same time. FDC, hold on, a floppy disk controller. FDC is a special purpose chip and this controller circuitry. It controls and directs reading and writing to a computer's floppy disk drive, FDD. IDE, Integrated Drive Electronics Controller. The devices used for connecting IDE, Ethernet, FireWire, USB and other systems can be called host adapter. So the IDE controller refers to the host adapter. CMOS, complementary metal oxide, complementary metal oxide semiconductor battery. CMOS battery, also called memory battery, clock battery, or real-time clock (RTC), is generally a CR2032 lithium coil cell. The lifespan of the CMOS battery is estimated to be 3 years. The power supply unit, PSU, is unplugged or switched off. Power supply conductor. A power supply provides the necessary electronical power to let the computer work. Okay. No. Mouse and keyboard ports. Other computers have a keyboard port connected directly to the motherboard. There are two types of connectors. The oldest one is special DIN conductor, while the newest one is a mini DIN PS2 style conductor. Many PCs use the PS/2 style conductor for both keyboard and mouse, and the connectors are marked clearly for the different usage. DIP, dual inline package switch. A DIP switch is a manual electronic switch packaged with others in a standard dual inline package. The term may refer to an individual switch or the whole unit. A jumper. A jumper is a short length conductor that is used to close, open, or bypass part of an electronic circuit. Heat sink. It's a cooling system. Heat sink is a passive heat exchanger that transfer heat generally by parts of motherboard into a fluid medium like liquid or air. A clock generator. A clock generator is an electronic oscillator. Okay, I don't know that word. Circuit that produces a clock signal for usage in synchronizing a circuit's operation. Okay, we're here at troubleshooting components. Number one, you would have to check the power supply. Many components are located in the motherboard, so it can be a bit tricky to decipher which component is causing the error, whether the connection of the power cord and the electronic sockets are well connected. Number two would be to troubleshoot components such as CPU, or you would have to enter the ASUS download center to check the compatibility of the motherboard and the CPU. When troubleshooting for memory, number three, when troubleshooting for memory circumstances, you have to reinstall the memory and check the memory memory is fully installed. Number four, check the graphic card. External graphic cards can be connected to the motherboard without display. Troubleshooting graphic cards include reinstalling of graphic cards and confirm the display cable is connected correctly. Number five, check the monitor. When troubleshooting a monitor, you need to make sure the monitor is powered on normally, and check the indicator light of monitor is on to ensure that power cable of the monitor is connected correctly. Number six, test with minimal components. Isolating the possible cause. Keep the CPU radiator fan and single DRAM installed on the motherboard. Remove all the USB devices. External cards from the motherboard and cables connected to the motherboard. Then try to reboot the computer. Number seven, clear CMOS. If there is no display, please power off and try to clear the CMOS. Number eight, AUS Q LED troubleshooting. Number nine, buzzer to troubleshoot. And that is all that we have for today. Thank you.